Hi there, and welcome to Voter Education Training. I'm Rebecca Winning, co-chair of the Voter Service Team with the Jeffco League of Women Voters. And today we're going to talk about best practices for hosting events in the community to register voters, help them check their registration, give them information about where to get information about ballot issues, candidates, how to vote, how and where to vote, and to make sure that they're really ready to vote on November 8th. This is really important because of the times we're in right now. They're more divisive, more problematic, more challenging, and frankly, a little bit scary. And everyone needs to know that they can exercise their right to vote and create the world they want to see. So first, some facts about Jefferson County. So Helen Amoroso, who's a member of the league, put together some great statistics about voter registration and active voters. So in Jefferson County, this is voter registration data from the county as of August 1st. There are more than 70,000, approximately 70,000 unregistered eligible voters in the county, and over 30,000 of those are women. More than 15,000 voters are active but failed to vote in the last election, and more than 8,500 of those are women. And then we have registered inactive voters who have failed to vote in the past few elections for whatever reason, more than 38,000 residents, of which more than 18,000 are women. About 7,500 had a change of address, so they were unable to vote. 1,500 had their mail ballots returned for wrong address or whatever, and 29,000 were undeliverable. So there's a problem with the registration or the address or whatever. So what that tells me is we have some work to do. Helen also did an analysis of kind of low turnout areas by looking at inactive voters and then mapping them in Jefferson County to see where we have pockets that we might want to address. What she found was the low turnout areas included the Sheridan busy east-west streets like Alameda, Mississippi, 6th Avenue, Hamden, 48th Avenue, and areas in the county with older apartment buildings. So this is important in terms of targeting where we might go to schedule a voter education event. And yes, there is work to be done. And I challenge all of us to get out there and do the best we can to make democracy work in Jefferson County. So let's talk about voter registration. So there are a number of different ways that people can register to vote. One is through a Secretary of State sanctioned voter registration drive. There's also online voter registration by mail or email, or in person. And voters must complete and submit their own registrations. Our job is to act as consultants and to answer questions and give them the information they need to register themselves. The reason the top bullet is highlighted in red is that by policy, the Jeffco League does not engage in those Secretary of State sanctioned voter registration drives. And that's where people go out and they register a bunch of people to vote, they get their registrations, and then they hand deliver them to the county clerk. And we have found that the liabilities for league members are just too great in terms of making sure that you get everybody's registration, you get it into the right county clerk and recorder, and that you get it in a timely fashion and meet all the obligations set by the Secretary of State. So we're going to be focusing on these other three ways: online registration, registration by mail, and in person. So let's talk registration requirements. Anyone in Jefferson County can register. if they're a U.S. citizen, if they're 16 years old, if they've been a Colorado resident for at least 22 days immediately before the election, the upcoming election in this case, and if they're not serving a sentence of confinement or detention for a felony conviction. Acceptable forms of identification. If someone wants to register online, they're going to be asked to provide a Colorado driver's license or a Colorado ID card or a valid Social Security number. If applicants don't have one of the above, they can register using the paper registration form. In these cases, the person may be required to provide an acceptable form of identification when they go to vote. To register online, you can go to www.govotecolorado.gov, and they just take you straight through the application process. It takes less than 5 minutes to complete an online registration. And if you're out in an area and you have internet at an event, you can just help people do their registration right there and then. To register by mail, you have to complete and sign the Colorado voter registration application. And we have copied those and put them into the kits that go out to the units so that when you go out to host an event, you can hand people not only the application, which we have in both English and Spanish, but you can also give them a self-addressed stamped envelope so that when they've finished completing the application, they can stick it in the envelope and mail it in. Now they need to do it. We're not going to mail it for them, but we're going to make it as easy for them as we possibly can. To register in person, there are a lot of different ways. In Colorado, anytime you go to a government agency like the Colorado Department of Motor Vehicles, offices that provide public assistance, recruitment offices of the armed forces, any federal, state, or local government office that chooses to provide voter registration services, or a voting service and polling center, you can register to vote. In some cases, if you sign up for a driver's license, you're registered automatically. They have your information and then they send you a thing so that you can accept that registration. But if you're not registered and you want to register in person, you can go to any of these offices up until Election Day to get registered. So voter identification, an applicant who's qualified to vote in Colorado but doesn't have a driver's license, a state-issued ID card, or a Social Security number can still register to vote. In that case, they may be required to provide an acceptable form of ID, and anyone voting by mail for the first time will have to provide a photocopy of that ID. So there are lots of different acceptable forms of identification for people who may not have a driver's license or Social Security number. You got the valid driver's license, a valid Colorado ID card, a passport, any government employee photo ID, a valid pilot's license, a valid military photo ID, a copy of a current utility bill, bank statement, any other government document that shows the name and address of the elector and confirms that you're living in Jefferson County. Also, valid Medicare or Medicaid card, a copy of a birth certificate, certified documentation of naturalization, valid student ID, valid veteran ID, tribal membership ID cards. ID forms with addresses must show a current address to qualify. Other eligible voters include residents of group residential facilities, people committed to the Department of Human Services and confined for one reason or another, and certain voters confined in county jail or detention facilities. So they really try to make it easy for the vast majority of people to vote. And you can get a full list of both acceptable ID and eligible voters if you go to govotecolorado.gov. So we have some deadlines coming up for registration. You can register by mail or complete an online registration by Monday, October 31st, 2022. For a mail registration, the envelope must be postmarked by Monday, October 31st to be considered valid. But in-person registration go all the way up to Election Day on Tuesday, November 8th. So because registrations are automatic in Colorado, so you go to get a driver's license and you automatically are registered to vote, and then you do have to kind of accept that registration, but a lot of people may not remember or know that they're fully registered to vote. So you can help them check their registration by going to the website govotecolorado.gov, and then there's a menu which includes a Find My Registration. You click on that and you confirm that your details are correct, including your current address, and you can find out and confirm that you're registered to vote. It's something that I would recommend that people do, because if they've changed address or if they've kind of forgotten that when they applied for a driver's license or whatever, it's really good to remind them that they're registered and ready to vote. If you need to update your address, if they have moved, they can go to the govotecolorado.gov website, go to Find My Registration, and enter the new address information. And then to get a mail-in ballot, which is common in Colorado, every registered voter automatically gets one. Ballots are sent to the mailing address provided on the voter registration file, which is why it's important for people to confirm that their address is correct in advance of the election. And then voters are encouraged to drop off their ballots at designated drop-off sites, drop boxes, or mail their ballots in time to be received by the county clerk before the polls closed. So mail-in ballots must be received no later than 7 p.m. on Election Day. And then people can track your mail-in ballot. If you've mailed your ballot in, you can actually go to see that it's been received and counted. So you can sign up for Ballot Tracks, which is a free service that allows you to track the status of your mail ballot by going to colorado.ballottracks.net, entering your first and last name and other information, and then you select how you want to be notified of your ballot, and then they'll notify you as your ballot is received and counted. You can also go to www.govotecolorado.gov and log into your voter record to see if your ballot has been sent. If you have problems, you should contact the clerk and county clerk and recorder. And if you need to find your voter service polling center, where you can go in to vote in person or you can go in to register in person prior to the election, you can go to www.jeffco.us/3907/find voting locations. And they will have a list of all of the voter service polling centers in the county, and you can locate the one closest to you. Right now, they're in the process of updating those locations for the November election. They have all the June primary locations up, but check back because they'll be updating for the November election shortly. And then for general election information, you can go to www.vote411.org. This is a website that's sponsored by the League of Women Voters, and it gives you full information about elections, including side-by-side comparisons for candidates, ballot measures with pro-con arguments, upcoming forum and candidate events, so you can actually go see candidates speaking in person, Also, it will have the voting service and polling center locations and voter registration information. So Vote 411 is really a one-stop shop for upcoming information on the upcoming election. And to find personalized voting information, so if you're in Arvada and there's a municipal issue in Arvada that may not be pertinent to other people in other parts of the county, Vote 411 will also show you everything that's relevant to you, all the stuff that's going to be on your ballot wherever you live in the county. So you just go to Vote 411, put in your residential address, click submit, and they'll show you all of the issues that you'll be voting on. So this is just a sample document. You can't vote through Vote 411, FYI, but you can see what you're going to be voting for. And what about college kids? So if people are attending school here in Colorado and they live somewhere else, they have the right to register and vote in Colorado if they establish residency here. It's up to each individual student to decide where they reside, whether that be in Colorado or another state. So they get to choose if they want to make Colorado their state of residency, or if they want to keep their residency in their home state until they finish school. Students from other states that go to school here can maintain residency and vote in their home state, and they need to check with their home state's registration rules to find out how. And residents of Colorado, kids who go to school in other states from here, can keep their registration in Colorado and vote by mail. Alternatively, if the student attends a college or university out of state and wishes to register to vote there, they can do that, but they have to check that state's voter registration rules. The only issue is that students can't register to vote in 2 states or in more than 1 state. So holding a voter education event, I'm really hoping we can get to those almost 70,000 people and get them registered. And to do that, we're going to have to be ambitious and committed and excited. So the first thing to do is to target locations. We talked about areas in Jefferson County where we have low voter turnout or low registrations or whatever, and those are areas we should consider. Other target locations, local colleges, universities, and trade schools, in case kids don't understand how to register to vote or if they can register to vote. We have a little initiative going with pot shops because we have a member who is convinced that people who work in pot shops and also frequent them as customers typically aren't registered to vote. Local fairs and festivals, farmers markets, areas with low turnout, we talked about young mothers groups. I think in every unit you should be brainstorming where are the locations where you're likely to hit unregistered voters or voters who need to check their registration and be ready to vote. So the process, you identify target locations in your unit, you contact them to get permission to host an event and set a date and a time. You make sure you have volunteers ready to staff the event, you finalize logistics, and then you report events back to me so that I can get these events on the master calendar. And then, this is equally important, track and report your results. Like keep track of how many people you talk to, how many people you register, how many people checked registrations, how many people were referred to vote more 411, whatever, because we want to keep track of our progress. And then logistics. Depending on the location, you can negotiate this with the location owner, but you're going to need tables, chairs, tablecloths, signage, laptops, so that people can sign up, or hotspots, so that if there's no internet access, people can use their smartphones to sign up. handouts, and we'll talk about those later. We have them in, we have a little kit for every unit that includes the handouts. You might want to think about bringing water or snacks depending on the weather and the temperature, tape, sunscreen, umbrellas, all the little detail things you can think of to make your event a success. So the handouts you're getting, we have a little handout called Your Voice, Your Vote that covers voting, all the voting information. We have them in English and Spanish. We'll be getting ballot pamphlets to you. They come at the end of September, early October. We have little business cards with Vote 411 on them, and they actually include a QR code now so that someone can take the card, use their smartphone, you know, screen the QR code and go straight in to register to vote. It's that simple. And then for people who don't have smartphones or who are not as comfortable registering online, we are offering voter registration forms and self-addressed stamped envelopes. We also are putting league information and membership sign-up information in the kits and key election dates and frequently asked questions about elections. So you should be fully equipped to sign up hundreds of people. So there are resources. If this is not enough for you, if you want to refresh your information, fabulous resource is www.govotecolorado.gov and www.vote411. Really, those are the two resources that should give you everything you need to host a successful event. So now the thing is to go out, sign up as many people as we possibly can, and have fun. And I would ask you at these events, you know, we're doing a campaign now on social media, so I would ask you to take photos of your unit members having fun, registering people to vote, and protecting democracy. So I thank you for this. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. My email address is winning, WINNING _Inc, INK @msn.com. And I look forward to working with you on this very important project.